Good evening and welcome to the September 27th, 2023 East Lansing Planning Commission meeting. Mr. Dempsey, would you please take the roll?
Yes. Chairperson Sullivan.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Bowman. Here. Commissioner Boyd.
Here.
Commissioner Denault.
Here.
Commissioner Hendricks. Commissioner Lapine. Commissioner Wagner. Here. Commissioner Williams. We have 5 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Bowman.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Boyd. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. That brings us to item 1.3, approval of the minutes from the August 23rd, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wagner.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Denault. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. That brings us on to item number 2, committee reports. I do not believe we have any committee reports. So item number 3, staff reports. Mr. Dempsey.
Yes, two items this evening. The first one is I'd like to introduce Landon Bartley. He's our new principal planner. We've sort of retitled, for external purposes, the Planning and Zoning Administrator. So same role, same position, staffing the Planning Commission being one of those top roles. But I just wanted to introduce Landon and offer him a chance if he had anything to say introductory.
Hello. Yeah, my report is that we hired the principal planner, and I've started as of about 4 weeks ago. So I am learning a lot. It's my previous position was as a planner in Grand Rapids for 14 years. And then after that, as a consultant for about 3. Excuse me. And then I saw this posting open up and thought this would be a great time to go back to my hometown. I grew up in East Lansing, or very, very close to, just across Saginaw Road, across from MSU. So technically Meridian, but I consider East Lansing my hometown. It's really great to be back here, and it's been great to join this team. Really good team of staff, and I'm excited to be here. So nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
And then the other item is I just want to remind everyone, we sent word out, but for those watching at home, tomorrow evening from 4 to 7 p.m. here at the Hannah Community Center is the Non-Motorized Transportation Plan Open House. We encourage people to come and give input on that plan that deals with, as it indicates, all non-motorized travel, so pedestrian activity, bicycling, scooters, even though they're sort of motorized, those types of things. And that's been a hot issue recently. So encourage all of you to come and attend. Because it's an open house, you can come at any point, stay as long as you want. There'll be some opportunities to provide feedback and input. The consulting team from MKSK will be here. It's being led, of course, by our Department of Public Works, which oversees that plan. But you'll see some of us planning staff there, but we encourage everybody, including the public, to come by at some point. That's it for this evening for reports.
Vice Chair?
You just brought something to mind. Since you mentioned the scooters, are the motorized assist bicycles part of that now as well? Or would that be part of, I mean, I know they're relatively new, so maybe we didn't see it coming.
Yeah, in terms of falling under our licensing, I don't know that they would. Certainly, individuals that have them privately aren't regulated by us, but that's probably one of those issues that I think this current plan probably needs to address and tackle.
I see them on the sidewalk really frequently, and that concerns me.
Yeah,
but maybe that's something to take up tomorrow.
Yes,
Thanks.
it would be. We'd love to see that input. Oh, and there's also a survey online for those that maybe can't attend, or we encourage people to do both, do the survey and be in attendance. So thank you.
Thank you for the update. That brings us on to item number 4, commissioner announcements. Are there any? Seeing none. Item 5, communications from citizens. 5.1, written communications. I didn't see any in the agenda packet for tonight. Item 5.2, verbal from the audience. This is generally the time you come forward and discuss anything that is not on tonight's agenda. However, feel free to come forward. I'm assuming you're both the applicant for item 6.1. So. All right, seeing none, is there anyone online in the queue?
We have nobody waiting within the queue.
All right, thank you. That brings us on to item number 6, public hearings. Item 6.1, a request from American Gas and Oil for a site plan and special use permit approval for 100 East Saginaw Street. Mr. Dempsey?
Yes, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bartley. He's going to walk through the staff report and answer your questions this evening.
Yeah, thank you. So this request, as you noted, is a public hearing tonight, a request from American Gas and Oil for site plan and special use approval for 100 East Saginaw Street. This is currently the University Marathon gas station at the southeast corner of East Saginaw Street and Abbott Road. The zoning, excuse me. You can see that the zoning for this property, shown 100 at the southeast corner of Saginaw and Abbott, is zoned B2. That's retail sales business district, in which a gas station such as this requires a special use permit. Surrounding land uses across the street, you have across Saginaw, you have a Rite Aid, and beyond that, Reno's East. To the east, you have a strip mall, sidebar, and then law offices to the south, post office, and then across Abbott to the west is currently residentially zoned in a vacant property. I'm just going to skip through the application real quick on the screen. This slide here shows the current site and the proposal to, I guess, demolish the existing building. There's currently a convenience store closer to the corner, a car wash tunnel to the southeast, and then the fuel islands in between. There are currently 4 fuel pumps. The applicant is requesting to scrape the entire site, remove all the buildings, and replace the fuel pumps and the fuel islands with going from 4 to 5 fuel islands. So you can see on the site layout plan, what's proposed is a single-story convenience store, gas station building to the rear. This is more of I would say a modern sort of traditional layout for a gas station than what's there right now. So that the proposed C-store is about 4,000 square feet. A single story has peaked roof with dormers, and then the new fuel canopy is proposed to be placed over the top of 5 fuel islands. As far as surrounding properties up to the northwest, close to the intersection, there's currently just a green space, and that's proposed to remain. There's a slight increase in grade from the corner of about 2 feet, and then at the sides of the existing building, there's a little more topography and some mature locust trees that are currently on site, and those are proposed to be removed. Excuse me. Let me see here. As far as circulation goes, generally we'll have a similar site circulation to what's there right now, and I'll defer to the applicant on the details, but they are proposing to remove one of currently 2 existing drives. You can see in the existing conditions slide here, there are 2 drives proposed or currently in place from Abbott Road, and the applicant is proposing to remove the northernmost of those, but retain the southern driveway from Abbott Road and the existing driveway to and from Saginaw Street. Generally, this proposal meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance. We just noted that they are proposing to remove some mature trees, which are required to be retained whenever possible, and we have a slight difference in our calculations of what sort of landscaping, or I guess how many trees need to be planted as part of this proposal when we get to the I guess final site plan. And the difference is that essentially we would require more than what the applicant is currently showing on their site plan. You know, in general, this is the request. I think it's a fairly straightforward request from here with the landscaping of the site circulation is what I wanted to bring up. As far as the C-store itself, here's the floor plan. This is a very straightforward sort of C-store site plan for gas stations. You can see the coolers and freezers and beer cave inside. And here we see an elevation of the proposed design for the C-store, again with the peaked roof and dormers. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions before we invite the applicant up.
Any questions from members?
There's, I was just looking at the parking. I want to make note that the applicant had repeatedly said that there's going to be less paving on this than is current, and I think that's encouraging. It looks to me like sort of when I was looking at that, it looks to me like there's 4 parking spaces that are sort of withdrawn from the remainder down in the southeast corner, and I'm curious if that's likely to be employee parking.
My understanding is that the employee parking could be in that location, but that's more for customers. I'm sorry, at the far southeast corner behind the store, yes. That's my understanding is that is intended to be employee parking, and the rest of the parking spaces on site would be for customers.
So the parking I'm not really hung up on this, but just because I caught it. By my count, there's 16 spaces plus 1 barrier-free space, but according to the narrative here, there need to be 14 spaces. Does that potentially include in the employee parking as well?
We consider the parking to meet the code requirements.
Parking is parking.
Yeah, including the spaces under the canopy of the fuel pumps, but those are just sort of temporary spaces for holding cars. Yeah,
Thanks.
sure thing.
What is the parking comparison to the previous or the current site to this proposal? You think you said it was 17? Or the
17 spaces are proposed. It's a little bit more difficult to tell you the exact number of spaces on site right now, just because of the different
I couldn't really
layout.
see it from the map because of the awning on the site too.
Yeah.
Is the convenience store that's going to be there, or the party store, whatever you want to call it, is that bigger as proposed than it is currently?
I believe so. I'm not.
Not like
yes,
an
it is.
exact
I'm not sure
comparison,
how
but is it
exactly how
comparable
big.
or?
Comparable in size, slightly larger than the existing C-store. To note, the car wash tunnel is proposed to go away and not be rebuilt.
Okay, got it, understood. And then, as far as the tanks for the gas, are those going to be kept or replaced, or do you know what the plan is for those?
I'm going to have to defer to the applicant on the
Okay.
exact plans for that.
Understood.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
I just have one quick question.
Commissioner Wagner?
That intersection at Abbott and Saginaw, I mean, it's a pretty busy intersection. There's been, lots of accidents there. Does staff have any concern about reducing the number of entries? I think there are 2, well, there are 3 now. I'm going to propose just to 2. Or is that better for flow of traffic, or any thoughts?
I'm not sure if I can comment on how good it is for traffic flow, but there's less conflict points for sure. So we expect that this could be a better situation as far as safety goes, and less pedestrian crossings needed on the sidewalk. Also note that there are cross-access easements across the southern portion of the site. You can see the dashed lines here, and that also gives cross-access to the site to the east. We're not sure if the easement also includes access across to the south. Potentially it doesn't appear to, onto the post office property, but there is that cross access that goes to the east property, so that cars could access the site or to and from through other means.
On that point, I think you mentioned that they're going to be scraping or grading the site, so that hill that essentially exists on the corner, that'll be removed, and that could potentially help visibility.
The existing
exiting
hill,
or-
I mean, there's relatively little topography off the property. There's about, like I mentioned, I think just about 2 feet of rise from the corner. There is some more significant topography actually on the property adjacent to, on this slide, the existing conditions and demo plan. To either side of the C-store, there's a little more topography, a little more of a hill with trees, and the applicant is proposing to get rid of that entirely and make that part of the driveway
Okay.
to and from the fuel pumps.
That's all the questions I have. Any other questions from commissioners?
And I guess I just mentioned one more thing is currently there is a retaining wall. The C-store sort of backs up to the into a retaining wall of about 2 feet of height, and then the grass area between the corner and the C-store, and that retaining wall will be removed as well. So overall, you would have a relatively flat site, flat pavement coming from between the entrances into the fuel pumps, and then whatever topography is currently existing next to the C-store would be removed.
Got it. Yeah, that's what I was hinting at, is they're almost flipping the configuration with the building going behind the pumps,
think
the pumps
that's
in front, so.
quite accurate.
Yeah. I just didn't know if the hill was gonna remain in any capacity. It doesn't sound like it. Commissioner Boyd?
With the new store, hours of operation stay the same, or will they be changing?
You know, my understanding is that they'll be the same. I'm looking to the applicant for confirmation. I'm getting a nod, so it looks like they are proposed to remain the same.
All right. Any remaining questions for Mr. Bentley? All right. I think we're ready for the applicant.
Commissioners, my name is Steve Whitty from Nederveld. We're the design engineers for the project. With me in attendance is Jason Barris, who is the owner of American Gas and Oil. First of all, thank you for your time and consideration regarding this request. Also, a special thank you to the city staff. They've been great to work with, so I'd like to mention that as well. Just a little bit of background. American Gas and Oil, they own and operate quite a few different gas stations in West Michigan. Relatively recently, Jason and American Gas and Oil purchased this property. Landon did a great job giving you an overview of what is proposed, so I won't repeat all of that. But I guess the biggest thing, as was just mentioned, site-wise, that's changing is right now, kind of the building is right along the right-of-way, and there's in my opinion, kind of a weird berm. It's almost like a cave feeling. And then the fuel islands are in back. So what's going to happen is the entire site's going to be demolished, and then the C-store will be constructed in back of the property with the fuel islands in front, similar to what you see pretty much everywhere else, and the car wash goes away. Somebody had asked about the size of the building. The existing convenience store is 2,509 square foot in size, and then the car wash building is 1,559 square feet in size. So if you add those two together, right now the building area out there is 4,068 square feet. The proposed convenience store is 4,032 square feet. So we're just slightly lower than the overall building area. So just kind of wanted to mention that to you. There was a question about the tanks. The existing tanks are going to be removed and a new tank going to be put in place. That's part of the urgency in getting in front of the city and hopefully getting the approval, because the tank actually has already been ordered, because there's quite a backlog on that type of thing. So we're hoping that the process goes relatively smoothly and quickly, hopefully, so that we get the approval before the tanks get here. As far as the building itself is concerned, we feel it is a very attractive building. I did bring the elevations, but if you have any questions on the architecture or anything like that, we can get into a little bit more detail there. I did submit a narrative kind of outlining the standards that how we feel have met them, and kind of taking care of the checklist items, I guess I'll call it, that the city has. And then I would like to maybe elaborate a little bit on the staff comments or recommendations, I guess I'll call them, which I think is on page 35 of one of the reports. There was a mention about possibly providing cross-access to the post office to the south of us. As was noted, there's actually an existing access easement along our south property line, but I think the intent of that cross-access is actually to provide access from Abbott to the property to the east of us. We can look at the existing easement further if the city does want or require us to provide an access easement or to amend that easement to allow the post office to access, our site. That's perfectly fine. So we don't have any issues with that. The second item in staff's comments was about considering underground utilities or possibly relocating a light pole that's along Abbott. If you're familiar with all the new utilities to the site will obviously be underground. If you're familiar with the site, the existing sidewalk right now in that area is right along the back of curb, and that stays that way for our site as well as the post office to the south of us. And then once you get south of the post office, then you do get a little bit of separation between the back of curb and the sidewalk. So I think staff is suggesting or asking if it would be a decent idea now to provide a little bit of separation here. We'd really prefer not to do that, and the reason for that is because if you look to the south of us, the post office, they have their parking like almost right up to the sidewalk. So we don't know how that would feel to have the sidewalk, a little bit further away from the curb and then go right to the curb and then back. That's not a make or break deal by any means. So if the city wants us and requires us to move the sidewalk, we will. It's just once we move the sidewalk, we'll probably have to relocate a light pole, which isn't the end of the world, like I said. So I just wanted to mention that. Staff also commented about changing the proposed curb from a rolled curb, which we show on our plan now, to a high back curb. No problem there, so we'll change that. And then lastly, there was a comment about adjusting the landscaping to meet the ordinance, and we can definitely work on that too. In the front of the property, so along Abbott, Clear Vision Corner, and Saginaw, we are proposing the required plantings that the city requires. However, our landscape architect did not show anything south of along our south property line and along the east property line, so I think that's where we fall short. There is not a whole lot of room to the south or to the east of us, and I think that's why staff had suggested possibly working with the Planning Commission and enhancing other areas on the site where we have a little bit more room to provide the landscaping versus putting it right along the edges. And like to the east again, existing site actually has pavement all the way to the property line. So now our proposed plan, we do have like 2 or 3 feet of space there that we could do some, shrubs or something like that to provide some breaking up, but having like literal trees there probably isn't enough room as drawn for that. So we'd appreciate some consideration regarding that. So that being said, hopefully that gives you a little bit more overview of the project, and then at least staff's 4 suggestions for further discussion. And again, if you have any questions on the engineering, site plan, design, or anything like that, I'd be more than happy to answer those types of questions. Anything business related wise, Jason could help you there. So again, thank you.
Questions from commissioners? Mr. Denault?
Was there a particular reason why y'all decided to switch the orientation of that space and to put the C-store in the back rather than in the front?
It's a little bit, in my opinion, it's a little bit nicer to have more of the traditional, my own opinion. People in general like to see where they're going. So with having the islands in front, people know where they're going, they can see where they're going, it's safer, you can see what's happening very easily from the road. So that's the intent there, and that's, traditionally, gas stations have that. I actually, our main office is in Grand Rapids, where Landon used to come from, so I actually know him from past life, so to speak. City of Grand Rapids, for instance, they require all the buildings in front of the along the street and parking behind it. They actually make an exception for gas stations. Gas stations have the opposite way because they recognize there's a difference between gas stations and then the normal business. So again, personal preference, I realize that, and judging from your look on your face, you'd prefer it the other way, but and Jason maybe elaborate on it too, but we really like it this way better.
Yeah, and then, so that's kind of the engineering side of it. And the other thing on business-wise.
Oh, sorry, could you come up so we could hear it from the mic?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. So from the business side of it, a lot of times we get deliveries through the back of the store, going into the coolers. So with that road on that cross easement, we want to kind of take advantage of it to be able to go in the back. And then the back of the building, you'd actually have like a back door. You'd have utilities, the HVAC that we'd either, in this case, we're going to put it on the roof. So, because sometimes it's a little bit better than putting it on the ground and the visual. But in this case, from the intersection, I don't think that would be very appealing to have roof units and, what do you call it, not the catwalk, but the platform or something to cut out in the roof and stuff like that. So it kind of, from a, visualization from the corner, I think it's going to be a lot more presentable. And I know at night it's I don't want to say it's inviting, but it's more of a security factor and stuff like that. Like I go by there now at night and it's pretty dark, and sometimes it might be it's a safety issue, I think, too. So that's the business side. So.
Is there anything unique about what the store is going to be selling, or is it just a typical convenience store?
Typical convenience store. We're not going to have like a fast food deli or anything like that, or no drive-through or anything like that. It's it's going to be basically your Cokes, Gatorades, slushies, a little bit of just convenience stores. It's kind of the grab-and-go sandwiches and stuff like that, all pre-made and stuff like that. Hot dog rollers, stuff like that.
So with the hill eliminated, I don't know if it's a hill officially, but you know what I'm talking about with the retaining wall, the mound, hill. Small hill. I don't think kids can sled on it. It's not big enough to sled on. But with that being eliminated, in the elevations, it's hard to tell, but you'll be able to see the store from Abbott and from Saginaw, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's actually a dip, kind of. On one side of the store it's high, and then on the other side you drive around and it's like you're going into a tunnel, like you're going to New York or something. You know, it's kind of like going through the.
It is unique.
So it's gonna be all flat now. You know. So.
And then you're not putting in any electric charging stations for vehicle. Okay. I think I saw that. I don't think there's a requirement either, right? Commissioner Wagner?
I was just going to follow up on your comment. Yeah, when I've been there with my kids, I mean, like especially in the wintertime, it's like you're like sledding down a hill to get to the pumps. I mean, are you going to raise the?
Yeah, it'll probably be filled. And,
even though there are tanks there, you
concrete,
have to.
yeah, the tanks will be removed where they're at because that's all sloped and stuff like that. So we actually moved the tanks out of the way. And I don't know if you ever noticed, but sometimes you drive in a gas station and the old, you know, the way we used to build them is you put the tanks out in the parking lot. When you're driving in, you know, kind of rocking. So we're moving all that stuff into curbing, so everything's just nice and smooth and flat, and they'll have drainage, you know, the storm drains and stuff like that. So other than that, it's going to be light grades and stuff, you know. So when people walk, it's not, you know, treacherous or anything like that, you know. So.
Any additional questions? Seeing none? Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. When's the next meeting date? I assume this will be on the agenda for the next meeting, right?
October 11th.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, we will open the public hearing if there's any members of the audience that wish to come forward and address the proposal. I'm seeing what looks like a head shake. So is anyone online in the queue?
We have nobody waiting within the queue.
All right, thank you. So we will close the public hearing on this one, and then, as I said, we will see it in about 2 weeks or so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that brings us on to item number 7, old business. There is none. So item number 8, new business. 8.1, Community Development Advisory Committee appointment. Mr. Bartley, I think this is you.
Yes, and I apologize for the late ad, but we were requested by the Community and Economic Development Division to have a representative of the Planning Commission on the CD Advisory Committee. This has happened in the past. I believe it was Mr. Wagner that's been representative. So the division is just asking once again if the Planning Commission can appoint a representative. You have the calendar of meetings and description of the committee and its charges in your packet. If I can answer any questions about what the request is or the committee, I'm happy to.
Yeah, any questions before we get into a conversation about a potential appointment? I'm curious if anyone on this commission is potentially interested in it.
I did it last year, and I would be happy to do it again. It was a great group of people, and it was a good conversation. So, I mean, unless someone else is burning to do it, I would be happy to do it again.
Does this require a motion?
No, I don't think we've
Okay.
done that by motion in the past. I think if there's consensus on the commission, then Mr. Wagner can be designated.
All right.
Congratulations.
Although I have to
Yeah.
say, it feels like we just finished.
Yeah.
I was really surprised to see this.
Be fun.
But,
So, seeing no concerns, congratulations, as was said. All right, so I think that brings us on to item number 9. And before that, just wanted to note that Commissioner Hendricks arrived at 7:25 for the minutes. So that brings us on to item number 9, Commissioner concerns. Is there any concerns from commissioners? Seeing none, I believe a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Bowman,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Denault. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. We are adjourned at 7:32 p.m.